Hi, welcome to Pick It and Flake It podcast. I'm Natasha.
I'm Vaux.
And we are on our second movie of the Halloween Extravaganza. And it was my pick, and I chose 2021 Candyman.
You're so formal with it.
I don't know how to intro. I'm not good at it.
I know.
I always get so nervous because I'm like, I'm going to forget something or I'm going to mess it up. So I have to like...
No, you hit it. You did it all. I mean...
I have to give myself a script.
No, like,
and I'll do it right.
You did it. Hooray. Good job.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
I don't think either of us realized that this was a Jordan Peele movie until we started watching it.
No, that's the funny thing you say that, because, like, I had thought it, and then, of course, it popped on screen before I said it out loud, because I was like, I'm getting, like, hardcore Jordan Peele vibes from this. But, I mean, he wasn't the director. He just produced it.
Yeah.
But...
is very Jordan Peele.
You know, I think that both I put intro music and intro shots, both with the like upside down kind of slow pacing, ominous dark coloring, as well as like what you said with the music. It kind of gave me that immediately had this Jordan Peele feel to it. And
even like the backwards, what is it called?
Like the intros.
The intros were backwards, and you know, we thought that it was downloaded incorrectly.
What are you talking about? I bought this on DVD.
Oh yeah,
on Blu-ray.
Sorry, we thought that the DVD was
burned incorrectly.
Yeah. What?
I think though that Jordan Peele is becoming a staple in horror, which is funny because we have another Jordan Peele movie on the Halloween Extravaganza for later on in the month. So if you keep listening, then obviously you'll be able to hear that. I did not realize that he had his hands in this one, but I think he's becoming a strange, like, he's weaseling his way into a staple in like the new wave horror kind of, you know, area, because he's started with Get Out, and then he's done Us, which I was a very harsh critic on both of those movies,
right.
And then you've watched The Twilight Zone, so he's kind of like had his hand into these like more up and coming reboots, ominous kind of horror. Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a good description of it, is ominous.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, I was looking forward to that when I saw his name. I was like, oh, okay, like this will be more, you know, like Get Out or like Us, and I guess in a way it was.
Yeah, I think it was, but because it's more modern. Like it's a very modern movie. Everything about it is very modern, and I guess we'll get into that right away. But did we do Us? Did we do Us for the Halloween Extravaganza 1? Was that on the first one?
We might have. I don't know, or we watched it another time, but we watched it because we were going to Halloween Horror Nights, and I was like, you got to watch it before we go.
I think it is on the first Halloween Extravaganza.
Yeah,
which
it's
I can't remember.
Well,
regardless,
we'd have to
I
look
hated
back.
Just to recap here. I hated Get Out. Like, I could not actually stand that movie.
I liked it.
Us was more tolerable because it had more of a less about political stances and more about I guess kind of like a sci-fi kind of supernatural feel to it, which I enjoyed. It wasn't that good, but I enjoyed it, and I think that this is kind of the step in the right direction, or at least I thought it was, until, you know, certain parts of the movie. So
yeah, I guess to break it down before we deep dive into it, if you watched Candyman, which came out, when did the original Candyman come out?
I know I think there's a couple.
Yeah, but the original
92.
Yeah, 1992, the original Candyman came out, and then there were sequels after that. There is a man? Yeah.
Question mark?
Man, spirit, whatever, that appears when you say Candyman in the mirror 5 times.
Oh, yeah, kind of gave me that Bloody Mary feel. Yeah.
And then he gives kids candy with razor blades in it. And in the first movie, this woman gets taken over. I barely remember it. I saw it in high school.
Yeah.
This woman gets taken over by his spirit, or she's going crazy because he's haunting her or something. I don't know. And he's telling her to do a bunch of stuff. If I'm wrong, sorry. If there's Candyman lovers out there that I'm offending,
I'm sure there will be.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
But we should have watched the first movie before watching this, because I want to, like... But I do like that they had reiterated the story.
Yeah, so that was Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
really liked how they showed them, like the puppeteering.
That was that's what I was gonna say. That was like my first note, is that they kind of go through and they're reiterating this story. They're retelling this story through the shadow puppets. Kind of.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. I mean, that was like something that I totally didn't expect, and it worked well.
Yeah, I really liked that. Was one of the big things that I liked about the movie. But so this guy comes. How did he? I can't even. This movie's kind of a blur to me, even though we just watched it. How did he come across the Candyman?
He just went down in the. He was the kid was gonna go wash his clothes, and he went down.
The Anthony.
As far as like the main character?
Yeah.
Oh no, his girlfriend's brother was telling them the story of Candyman.
All right, yeah.
So he didn't come across.
That's what I'm saying.
Candyman.
This movie's a blur to me.
Yeah, it's very fast. This is only an hour and a half movie.
Yeah, and I do enjoy that. It did go by very fast.
It was very quick. Yeah.
But I feel like a lot happened in that hour and a half.
And that's the problem, because you and I mean, I think everyone now, but you and I are very prone to watching like 2.5 hour movies, and we can chug through those movies. We have no problem sitting there on the couch for a couple hours. But when a movie is 90 minutes, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's revolutionary, like, it's something that we are not prone to anymore.
No.
For me, I always, being the music guy, I always look back and think, it's like, okay, we listen to songs on the radio now that were like, they're average 3.5 minutes long, right? For me, my style of music, any song under 6 minutes is like, that's a really fast song. But if you look,
I don't think so though, because you have like those metal albums that you listen to that are like 30-second songs or 16.
Oh, that's hardcore.
Albums.
That's totally different. But my regular go-to is like 5 to 6 minute songs. But if you go back, 15 years ago, the average song length was only 3 minutes max. So it's the same thing when you're looking at the music the movie scene. It's kind of like, oh shit, like an hour and a half movie.
Right, because we're
really
just so
short.
used to
we're used to
Marvel
Dune,
movies.
or Marvel or Star Wars. It's got to have 2.5 hours minimum. So yeah, I totally understand why this is a blur to you.
But yeah, so
fast.
he's told about the Candyman from his girlfriend's brother, and then he looks more into it, and then he decides to make an art piece on it. Puts the whole thing together, and he makes a mirror, says, if you say Candyman 5 times, this will happen. And then her boss, I guess,
it's more like she's
colleague. I don't know.
Probably a colleague, but I feel like she's more of an art critic and probably a journalist.
Okay, he was a dick, and he was a terrible actor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant you were talking about the chick who ends up calling him back over to the apartment later on.
No.
You're talking about the guy. Okay.
The guy and then he dies.
Yeah, the first kill. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's the second kill, because the first kill was his intern.
His little love interest. Yeah.
But
I think he was a sponsor.
Yeah, something. I don't know. But
the art scene is so weird.
Yeah, I don't I know that there's artists, and I know that there's people that support them, but I thought he was her boss.
Maybe. I don't even. They don't really go into that, which is fine, because you don't need to know it. I don't care.
But I just felt like the acting was bad in that, and then we even talked about like the CGI was not great in this movie.
Well, let's not jump around too much. Oh, jeez. You okay?
Yeah.
My first note was the puppeteering thing, but immediately after is when we're kind of leading to here, where he starts looking into Candyman.
Right.
This is one thing that Jordan Peele does, but also doesn't do at the same time. And it's funny because we just watched The Purge, so going from The Purge to this, which was full of loud, in-your-face scares, like jump scares. This is more very subtle and surreal scares, where like the couple instances that I have is that he goes into the ghetto where he's taking the pictures, trying to figure out where Candyman has kind of alluded from,
right.
And he's in the dark building, and there's like a weird like shutter sound, and he kind of looks over, and then all of a sudden this loud, ominous like noise comes through, and he jumps at it. But then it immediately goes from that loud scene to this quiet scene where he's just kind of like looking around at all the graffiti. And then it immediately cuts into him walking. And the first sound you hear in that next scene is a twig snap, and it's very loud. So it's not a jump scare. It's more of like this surreal sound amplification that they're trying to get you to be scared on. The same thing happens later on in the movie where he's just done all of the crazy paintings.
Yeah.
And then it jumps to a scene of her on the subway, like traveling to her dinner party because he was going to meet the journalist.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just very loud and very in your face, but it's not a scare.
See, I guess I just don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
It's very subtle, and that's why I'm saying Jordan Peele does that, because it's not a jump scare. You get scared when it's a jump scare, when there's something on the screen and a loud noise. This is just loud noises in a new scene, so it's just a steady pace for you,
right.
Which is funny for me to watch because I see you sitting next to me on the couch get, scared sometimes when that's not necessarily the case. Because it's supposed to be a jump scare.
Yeah.
But in this one, you didn't even move. Like, did you get scared at all in this movie?
Not really.
Yeah,
no.
right. Because it's just very...
The killings weren't, scary. They were interesting, but they weren't scary.
Well, speaking of killings, then, what did you think of the... you were starting to talk about the boss and his intern. What the first 2 kills in the movie.
Yeah.
What did you think of those?
I don't know. They didn't do it for me, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
I liked that they showed a lot, but I don't know. It's just...
This is why, and I'm glad we're doing this, because you and I have 2 very different and distinct movie tastes. I thought both of those kills were great, because the scenes are set up so you only see Candyman in the mirrors, right?
Yeah.
Her throat gets slit, and that was really cool. The gore was nice. I think it was well done. Good makeup. And then the boss or boyfriend or whatever the fuck he is, when he's trying to escape, he gets hooked into the Achilles tendon.
Well, yeah, and you can see him, in the air, but you can't see anyone behind him.
Yeah, and he's getting drugged by his Achilles tendon, which is brutal. That's so disturbing to me, So, these kills aren't very in-your-face kills. They're not getting shot with guns. They're not getting blown up. They're not getting put into a saw trap where their hands are getting chopped off and shit. They're just an instance of being attacked by something that you can't see. I thought those were well done. I liked those a lot, to be honest with you.
I don't think that they weren't well done. I don't know.
They didn't do it for you.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Okay.
But
I thought that was nice, though. I know you told me upstairs, that's why I'm kind of coursing this along, that you don't have a whole lot to say on this movie.
No, I guess it just first of all, it went by really quick. And second of all, I don't know. Not that I don't know. I don't want to spoil my thoughts on it yet, but I just feel like that not enough happened to talk about.
Well, so I guess I'm going to help you along here because I wrote more on this than I did on The Purge.
Yeah, I wrote
I have
less.
very opinionated about Jordan Peele movies to begin with, but another note is, what did you think of the character development in each character that we see? Because there's only 3 or 4 main characters that we follow, 2 of which are sub characters. So
the timeline didn't add up.
It was jumping around quite a bit.
Well, no, when they say spoiler alert, I'm jumping pretty much to the end.
Oh, we are way past spoilers. If you're
Okay.
almost 15 minutes into this.
Well, so there's in the first movie, there's a baby that's stolen.
Yes.
And the main character, Anthony, ends up being said baby. And the 12-year-old that found Candyman in the beginning of the movie
is Burke, I believe his name is.
Burke, yeah. And so at the time, he would technically only be 12 years older than him, but he's 20-something years older than him.
Well, I don't think that's the case.
He says a 30-year-old male.
Well, I'm saying that the kid, Anthony, is probably what? How old is he in this movie? Probably...
in his mid-30s?
Yeah, I would say probably mid-30s. So I'm assuming that Anthony was kidnapped probably 5 to 8 years before the events in 1977, which is where the movie starts with Burke as a kid.
No, that would have been after.
I don't know.
If he was 30, he would have been born in the 80s or 90s.
I'm not going to argue about it because I don't know, but I'm saying that made sense to me watching it because there's 4 iterations of the Candyman, and they talk about those iterations in the movie. So the first iteration is the one that we see when the baby gets stolen. The second one is the one that we see when Burke is a kid. Then there was a third one, and then now there's Anthony.
Yes, but Anthony was the baby that was stolen.
Right.
So it doesn't add up because if it was 77, he would be.
Well, I was thinking maybe
40 something.
75 is when he was kidnapped.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would make him
Still in his mid-30s.
No, in his mid-40s.
Oh. But regardless, that is a huge plot hole.
Yes,
I think it's very confusing.
And that's what's confusing. And I do like that they tied that in.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I wish they would have thought it through more with the timeline, because it doesn't make sense.
Or maybe not thought it through, because I bet there is thought process to it, but explained it better.
Right.
Because I feel like there should have been a scene.
Because was he the kid? Like, Burke was obviously the kid, but then was it later on that Burke or that Anthony was stolen as a baby?
I don't know. I feel
because that would make sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Maybe. Well, actually, maybe that's the case.
If he was stolen in '92 when the original Candyman came out,
yeah,
that would make a lot more sense, because he would be 30 at the time.
I bet that's what it is then, because they beat up the original Candyman, and then there's another iteration. See, I don't know. I feel like there should have been a scene where we have Anthony going around. He's taking pictures. He's doing research. He goes to the library and he's listening to audio recordings of journalists talking about this event. There should have been a scene that he kind of like puts a map up on the wall.
Right.
He's an artist, so he probably would have thought out the process, because it shows in the movie that he's drawing the 4 or 3 iterations of Candyman to begin with. So I feel like there should maybe that's a deleted scene. Who knows? But
right.
There should have been something where he's connecting the dots of like where it is, because he ends up finding out when he goes to the hospital, and he finds out that he was the baby. Like, that's like part of the plot. He finds that out.
Well, he finds out that he wasn't born at the hospital.
I feel like we just hit a revelation here. Go ahead.
Yeah, he finds out that he wasn't born he was born in a hospital that he didn't know he was born at, because the nurse was like, "Oh, you were born here," and he was like, "No, I wasn't. I was born on the south side." She's like, "No, our records show that you were born here." And then he goes and visits his mom.
Yeah, and figures it all out.
And then that's literally the only thing we see of his mom.
Yeah,
which was weird.
I want to say too that props to you for pointing out another city that you are familiar with. Because you're like, is this Chicago?
Chicago, yeah. Because I noticed the like honey. I don't know what they call them.
Did you look it up?
I tried, and it didn't really give me much. It said corn.
Oh. Because
it does look like corn, but like I feel like when it's in regards to Candyman, it's more
like honeycomb. Like kind of beehivey.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's where the art critic lived.
And that's really funny that you actually pointed that out too, because I can't point out cities, but I feel like every movie we watch that has some kind of skyline in it, you're just like, oh, that's Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's St. Louis.
Chicago. Oh, yeah, Chicago. I can tell very well because I've been there so many times.
Sure.
And then they also have, like, when you're walking downtown, they have the train like the train system.
Oh.
I guess
subway.
Yeah. Or no, the L. Sorry.
Oh, the L.
Like they have that system, and you can kind of tell when they're downtown.
But. To keep chugging along here with and you mentioned it before, but we just talked about it again, and I talked about it or mentioned it when we talked about he goes to the hospital because he gets stung when he's walking through the ghetto, and his body is slowly becoming decrepified, I guess is a good word.
Yeah,
it's like kind of like rotting.
Yeah, and they definitely make it known. Like they zoom into his hand every once in a while. He'll be picking at his scabs.
What did you think about the effects on that?
That looked good.
Yeah,
I think that
thought
really
that was
good.
really good. So yeah. I wrote down 2 things. So number 1, special effects when they aren't CGI, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like honestly, when he was fiddle fucking with his hands and his fingernail pops off. Yeah. And he's picking and stretching his scab apart. Just really nice. Just really, gross. Really nice. Unfortunately, as you mentioned earlier with the CGI, a lot of the kills fall very short.
Yeah, when the art critic is getting killed.
Oh my god!
In her apartment, and it would have been a really cool shot if they would have done it right. But it literally looks like she's just like flying around in her apartment.
And here's 2 things that I think is going to play an effect into why this happened. Number 1 is because I think this was kind of started to be filmed pre-COVID, and then it was edited during COVID.
Yeah.
And that kind of hinders a lot of things, so they were trying to just crunch it out, get it going, come on, because they wanted to, obviously, I think this was set to be released in 2020, and they pushed it back for 2021. Yeah. But what I think that they should have done, this is my second thing, is that they should have just had someone in a green suit, which I'm sure is kind of what they did, and just morphed them out of the scene, but they should have done that with the apartment kill. because like you said, it would have been a cool kill because the shot is awesome.
Right, the shot is great.
It starts in the like window and it slowly pans out so you can see the entire building that she's in, which is the honeycomb building you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But she's just kind of like flying all over. It's like what's that, Blightburn? Is that what that is?
Brightburn.
Blight. I don't know why I say Blight.
Yeah, Brightburn.
Brightburn. Kind of the same. It reminded me of the same effects.
Yeah, like they're just like flying.
They're just like ragdolling.
Like you could tell that they're connected to a wire or something, and it just...
No, that was complete CGI.
Oh, all of it, you
yeah.
think?
That was 100% CGI. There was no practical effects in that at all. It was very poorly done. Absolutely poorly done.
And I guess that's the thing with Jordan Peele is usually his stories are a little bit more realistic, I guess.
Sure.
Like Get Out is, there's not really...
Well, I don't want to keep calling this a Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah, sorry.
either.
But Jordan Peele was involved in it.
Yeah.
But I guess there's not as much...
Oh, you know what? You can call this a Jordan Peele movie.
Oh, okay.
He was the writer.
Oh, okay.
And the producer.
So
it was just
there's violence, but
Never
it's
mind.
more like punching and stabbing and...
Which I like.
But Candyman is, there's someone that no one can see.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know.
Surreal aspect. I'm glad that you brought that up, though, because this will kind of push us towards the end portion of our little review here. I think that Jordan Peele does the same thing in all of his fucking movies. Is really good setup, really good storyline, terrible execution on the ending. This movie, and I'm just going to start slowly chugging into our scoring here, was actually really good. I enjoyed this movie way more than I thought I would after seeing Jordan Peele's name slapped on the screen. Seriously.
I enjoyed it less.
Okay, well, that's, again, ironic because of our, push and pull for what we have, because you are a Jordan Peele fan, or not necessarily a fan of him, but you like his movies. This movie, the last 20 minutes, knocked the score down 3 points.
Jeez.
And I'll go into that because I wrote it all down. Absolute atrocity when it came to the ending of this movie. I was almost appalled.
It felt rushed.
It not only rushed, it was so fucking generic that it almost pissed me off. Like, I was like, what in the fuck are you doing to these characters in this movie? And I get what he's doing because it's a political statement.
Yeah.
But, like, you had so much going. Like, I liked these characters.
Yeah.
I liked the villain. I liked the setup, the story, the way that it was going. It wasn't very in your face. Like, okay, they kind of reiterated the fact that the baby was stolen from the first movie, yada, yada, yada. Anthony's the baby.
Right, but it wasn't like a remake to where it's like, okay, I've already seen the story so many times. It's the same thing.
And it wasn't Halloween.
No.
And it literally wasn't what we just saw, The Purge, where it was like, remember The Purge? Remember all these crazy things?
Yeah.
The same thing that was going on with Texas Chainsaw. We just did a review on Texas Chainsaw earlier this year.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck. It's the same thing. This did not do that. But
until the end.
Well,
yeah.
no, I don't even think the end did that at all. I think it was very tasteful what they did with the other movies. The problem was all the political shit they shoved down your throat at the end here.
Yeah.
I just the cult thing where Burke is all of a sudden like, we need Candyman to make the ghetto good again.
Right. Like, what?
What are you talking about?
And that's the thing. He was like totally normal in the beginning.
Yeah, he was cool. He was giving him all the info.
All of a sudden, he's just like this crazy guy, and he's like,
yeah, his fucking lips were
like chattering his teeth and stuff, and it's like, what?
The character took a whole 180.
Yeah,
and it just went,
and it was confusing.
Yeah.
And then he cut off his arm, which, I mean, I get it. Like, for the story, it had to happen, but
no, it didn't. You know why it didn't have to? Because his arm was already gonna fall off.
Right.
The entire side of his face. Oh, that was another thing with the gore. The side of his face, when it looked like a honeycomb, his skin was rotting, but it was like looked like a beehive.
Yeah, and
that
then
was
his
really
eye
cool.
was foggy.
Yeah,
that was cool.
But that's the thing; it was already gonna fall off. It was becoming rotten.
Yeah,
it was becoming rotten, and it just like this was such. So to jump just to the end here, so we can give our scoring. I feel like it kind of went down to the Black Lives Matter thing.
Yeah.
Which,
well, when she said, "I'm in here, help us,"
Yeah,
and then
I
they
was so
come in
excited.
and she's literally holding him, and they just shoot him because he's got a
hook for an arm.
Right, and I'm like,
Well,
he's
and
not
it's
even
because Burke. I'm sorry to talk over you. Burke called.
right,
remember?
and I know that he did that, but why wouldn't like I don't know.
It was very weird.
Maybe I'm not in that scene, so I don't understand. But it felt very what's the word? Like shoved in my face, you know, because it would be different if he were like, we're good, and like he like had the hook in his hand, and they were like, oh no, he's got a weapon or something like that,
Right?
But he was laying down,
Like
and she was holding him, and they still shot him, and then they were like, well, he was threatening, and it just felt, I don't know,
the way that you just said, like if he was like waving his arms around with the hook in his hand, like Spiral, the end of Spiral,
right?
Which again, not the best execution, but at least it made sense,
right? It's still like sad, and especially like if that is actually what's going on right now, or you know, not really right now, but during that time, and I guess kind of right now too, it's sad.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that it's right at all. You know,
no, neither am I.
Even if he had a weapon and he was waving it around, I'm not saying he deserved to get shot, but it just felt like a stretch. That's the word I'm trying to think. A stretch that he's laying down and she's holding him,
and he unloads a clip into him,
and like that just felt.
Well, that's why I was saying, and this, I guess this sounds terrible, right? But I was saying like this is very Black Lives Matter. I'm not a black guy. I'm not I'm not black. So I can't reflect completely on that.
Right. You and I can't relate to that stuff. And as much as sensitive as we try and be and stuff, it's just not like, it's not something we can relate on.
But this was not like you mentioned, and I guess we're beating a dead horse, but it was not him being threatening. He was on the ground dying. And the guy walks in. So that's my next point, is this is just highlighting how all cops are bad and all cops shoot black people.
Right.
And again, you have such a good story.
And and that's the thing. It's like, we've seen it.
I'm just disappointed.
They're living it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they are.
So
right.
why does it need to be in every horror movie?
And it's just like we did we said this, I think, in our cinema catch up. Well, a long time ago now, but when we talked about Grey's Anatomy for a minute, and it's like, it's the same thing with COVID. Like, why are we getting COVID in TV shows?
Right.
We already know it was there. Like, we lived through that, so you don't need to shove it down our throat. And I think that's the same thing. I'm not part of the black community, so I don't know, but I do think it might be a little redundant at some point. Like, I get
well, and it's like, you know, I don't remember much from when 9/11 happened.
Sure.
But I don't, like, looking back and watching TV shows from that time, it doesn't seem like they even reflect on what happened.
Yeah.
You know?
It was kind of swept under the rug.
You know, the Friends had an episode about it, and they deleted it.
Wow.
And now it's a deleted scene. But, you know, they didn't reflect on it as much as they are nowadays. Like, I guess media is a lot different, but I just feel like stuff that's happening in our daily lives is always like shoved in our face. Like, this is what's going on. Everyone needs to be aware of what's happening. And it's like,
yeah, we
are aware of what's happening. We have social media. We watch the news. We go outside, you know, it's like, we know what's going on. We don't need to see it when we watch a movie.
Yeah. We hear it. I mean, I think that's, not to get stuck on this, but we have black friends, you know, and we hear this stuff. And we hear their opinions on it. And I think that's really important, too, because I like hearing their opinions. Because typically when they talk to me about what their opinions on these situations are, it makes a lot of sense. And when I hear someone agree with me on, especially on like a movie, you know, an opinion on that, I'm like, okay, so I'm not completely, you know, skewed on my right wing or left wing, you know, political views. I have common sense. Right. You know, so.
I mean, one other thing about the end of the movie.
Yeah.
After all of the cops are dead, because she says Candyman in the mirror.
Oh yeah, what
5 times.
Great redemption, by the way.
Yeah, I did like that. I knew, too. And I knew what she was doing. And she's like, "Can I see myself?" And he's like, "Why?" She's like, "Can I just see myself?" And then he shows her, and she says it.
And then her man comes and saves the day.
Right. But I liked when he was walking around the car, and it was showing the different versions of Candyman in his reflection. Yeah, and I really liked that. So
I did like that too, and I like that they gave a nod to the original.
Yeah,
and they had a new one. I do want to say that we Luke not being here throws us off. You know, it really does.
Why?
Because typically we go through and say, "Oh yeah, this person plays this person in this movie or show," and and we have Anthony McCoy is the main character's name, and I will butcher the fuck out of these names, so I don't even want to read them. Anyways, he's in Us and Trial of the Chicago 7, which we did a review on as well. And then Brianna is played by is it Teona? I can't. I'm sorry. I'm gonna butcher these names the same way that people butcher my names. But she plays Monica Rambeau in fucking Teona. And she's awesome, by the way. I really like her. She plays Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, which we did a whole season breakdown of. So if you're listening and you wanted to hear our recap on that, considering that show just kind of disappeared. And then Coleman Diego, who plays Burke, he is in Euphoria. He is Rue's sponsor in AA.
Yeah.
Or is it AA or DA or Drugs Anonymous?
AA.
Yeah, Addicts Anonymous.
Yeah,
I don't know.
or
But
NA.
he's NA, yeah, narcotics. That's right. He's awesome. There's a couple other random people that I kind of noticed were in a few different shows and movies that I've seen. But
Yeah,
no
I mean,
one
a lot of
worth-
the people in this is like their first movie.
Yeah.
Or their only credited movie on Letterboxd.
Right. Yeah, but again, cool that Jordan Peele is kind of keeping the casts together.
Yeah.
Stuff that people that he's used to working with. But do you want to tell us how we rate things here at Pick It and Flick It?
So we rate things on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 obviously being the worst,
Poopy.
and 2.
Oh,
I'm gonna
2
go
being better.
I'm gonna go through 2 being better, 3 being better than 2, 5 being better than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4, whatever.
Wow.
Anyway, 10's the highest, 1's the lowest.
Yes.
And then we decide if we'd pick it or flick it. Pick it means that we would recommend it to our friends and family, or just friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not recommending this.
I think your mom would love it.
I do not.
No, I'm joking.
My mom hates horror movies.
I know. And then flick meaning we watched the movie so you didn't have to.
Oh, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
I always say grab that bitch and throw her right out the window.
Yeah, no. I mean, we flicked it so you didn't have to.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
tell me.
I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Did you?
Yeah. I was debating. I couldn't decide until we started talking.
So I want to preface this. We do not tell each other our scores before we come down here.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 5 out of 10.
Oh my god! This time and last time, I literally flipped over my notebook.
Yeah,
so
we
you
do not
couldn't
tell
see.
each other. Which is ironic.
I would say flick it and watch the original.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna pick this one.
Really?
Yeah. I think that the first hour is actually a well done movie. I think that everything about it is pretty decent, aside from the CGI kills. When we see gore up front, it's great. The story setup is cool. Acting is actually very good.
Yeah.
And
besides some people, I don't know. I just felt like it was lacking.
it's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion.
I've
to justify it
both
anymore.
movies we've watched this year.
Well, good thing we have fucking 29 more to do. So, no, I'm going to pick this one, but I wanted to break down real quick. I had it at an 8 until the last half hour.
Wow. What?
Yeah. I had it at an 8. I didn't
know you were enjoying it that
I was
much.
really digging this.
Wow.
It went from a 7 when Burke became culty and started going crazy. I was like, I do not like where this is going. It went from a 7 to a 6 when the obscurity and the strange, like, escape scene and, like, the way that she goes outside and then runs back inside.
Right.
Just, like, making no sense at all what she was doing. And then it immediately went from a 6 to a 5 when the whole cop situation happened, and we don't need to go back into that. So it started at an 8, and it tumbled straight down 3 points to a 5.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it weren't a horror movie, it would have been a pick and would have gotten a higher score, but I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
Well, good thing we have some more to choose from. Luke is with us tomorrow.
Yay.
So stick around for that. If you liked what you heard, comment, subscribe, share it with friends.
Sweet sugar candy man.
You know, I was hoping we'd hear that the Candyman can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world feel good. Thanks for listening.
Bye.